start off, my name is Luke Giancarlo. I'm part of Accenture's innovation practice focused on financial services, and I serve as the director for the FinTech Innovation Lab that we're going to talk more about today. And so we've got a really great agenda. We'll hear from a lab alumni, Luigi, and from Karen, who's a chaperone from one of our financial institutions. And so before we get into the conversation, I want to talk a little bit about the lab, who we are, how we operate, and where we're at in terms of our application process. And then we'll turn it over to have more of a scripted Q&A. And so to begin, and I'll start at the beginning, the lab was founded in 2009 after the financial crisis by the New York Partnership Fund that Maria Gotch is the CEO and president of and runs with us, the partner, and Accenture that really supports the operational arm of the program. And the way the lab works, we have about 40 financial institution partners that are part of the program, and they're across banking, capital markets, payments, and insurance, all like an excellent tier one organizations that really contribute their time and expertise to be partners within the program. And so the way it works is every year we meet with executives from each of those companies to hear about what their innovation priorities are. What are they working on year to year? What are some of the innovation topics that they find interesting? What type of startup companies would they want to work with? We then take that feedback and we go out to the market and we identify startup companies that are really solving those critical issues. And so that's where we're at right now and why we're having a conversation today. Tell you a little bit more about that for anybody who's interested in the application, which finalizes next Wednesday. From here, we then will have the financial institutions actually rank those applications and go through them. And we invite back to our office in New York to do a Shark Tank Day where you could pitch in front of a panel of judges that are made up of the financial institutions. From there, we go down to a top 20 or so that come back for a bit of a science fair style event. We set up a booth and meet with our broader community. And then from there, we get down to a top 10. And those top 10 companies are put into what we call the lab, which is a 3-month program that runs from early April until mid-June. And over the course of those 3 months, each startup company gets paired up with 3 to 4 financial institution mentors for them to really give you quality mentorship, help you understand product market fit, really think about where your product fits in, and help refine your presence as both how to sell into a tier one organization and give you any sort of mentorship that you might need as you think about selling into the New York financial institution. From there, we conclude it with a large semi-public demo day where we invite our broader VC community and industry executives, and each startup will go up on stage and do their pitch, and they're each introduced by their chaperone from the financial institution to talk about their experience with that startup program. We then open it up, and you're welcome to meet any of our VCs that are part of the program. And so with that, just back to where we're at right now. So our applications opened about a month ago, and they will close next Wednesday. So we're about the 6-day mark, so make sure you get all your applications in. But really, this is an opportunity for you to ask any questions about that application program and learn from 2 veterans here about what they're looking for to give you an edge on that application program. But one other thing that I'll mention is that application will be rated on by the financial institution, so you can hear a little bit about what they're looking for as well as part of the program. And so with that, let me turn it over and let's get into the scripted part of the conversation. For anybody on the line, if you have questions, I recommend putting them into the chat. We've got a lot of people on the line today, and so if you put submissions into the chat, we'll make sure we get to them by the end of the call. So with that, it's really my pleasure to introduce you to Luigi and Karen. Luigi is the CEO and founder of Before AI, and Karen is Vice President of Investments at Deutsche Bank. And so we're going to hear a little bit about their program, but first, if you could go through and talk, Luigi, a little bit about yourself, your background with Before AI, and then Karen would love to hear about what you do at Deutsche Bank.
Sure. So thanks again for having me. I think it's always a pleasure to return here to the Accenture office and relieve the vibe of the lab. We were in the lab in 2023, so it's still kind of fresh, the previous lab cohort. So I'm the founder of Before AI. Before AI is a cybersecurity company. We predict sources of future cyber attacks, and we stop them before any victim is made. Our product Pre-Crime helps with network security attacks, but also impersonation attacks. We have very large customers like financial institutions, manufacturing companies like Philips and Signify, large utilities, here in the U.S. Historically, we were a French company when we actually went to the lab. Since we have now transferred over in the U.S., because most of our business also, and mostly thanks to the lab, has grown immensely here. And so very happy to be here and share our experience and what we got out of it.
Yeah, happy to have you.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me? Okay, great. My name is Karen Wang. I am an investor at Deutsche Bank, taking a look at Series A and Series B enterprise software companies. Usually it's US and European startups. And before that, I was the head of the Entrepreneur in Residence program. And even before that, I was part of the innovation team. So I've seen a lot of, the challenges that banks have, and then seeing what, startups that come here, like where is the synergies?
So with that, Luigi, can you tell us more about Before AI? Let's start there with what your company does, how you solve the problem.
Yeah, so it's not a secret that cybersecurity and cyber attacks have become the second risk in the world nowadays. More than $10 trillion losses globally, right, from cyber attacks. Of course, financial institutions are primarily impacted. Frauds, obviously manage money, so there's very nice targets for criminals. And because of the velocity and the complexity of the attack, what has happened is that cybersecurity over time has evolved in an extremely reactive nature of detection and response. And a few years ago, about 4 years ago, I was looking at the market and I say, this is exciting, I want to get into it, but I don't think this being reactive is the right way to do. We should rebalance before the attack happens. And thankfully, I met my two co-founders at a research institute where we found this technology that we licensed. Then we started building on. And in fact, the financial institution became the first acquirer of our technology, definitely, first customers. And still today, the majority of our sales goes into financial institutions because we help, it's very simple math, the ROI of a solution that avoid attacks and you can count the frauds, right? So you see the fraud level go down, you see, data leakage go down thanks to this prediction and preemptive model, and everybody's happy. So we are today, after 40 years, a company that grows about 20% every month. We're 90 people in 34 countries, so fully distributed company, so people work from anywhere they like. And customers, as I say, about 90% here in the US, but others in Europe, in Asia. And, raise funds in April, our Series A, also with partnership for New York. So as a follow-on from the lab, we stayed in touch with Maria and the team, and Partnership Fund in New York decided to be part of our cap table. And so, very happy now installed here in New York as a company. I think, very vibrant ecosystem. I was at the beginning of the week at New York City Crossroads event that's organized by Partnership Fund, and some staggering number in New York, $1 trillion economy, 180,000 small businesses, 300,000 tech employees, of course, all sorts of nationalities. I think nobody can feel discriminated in New York because there's no two people that are the same here. So very exciting to have used. The lab actually was one of the things that did for us was actually cement the idea to land in New York for our US expansion.
Yeah, love that. And that's part of the mission of the lab is really the home base for fintech innovation. So could you tell us a little bit more about how did you find out about the lab and what did that do for you as applying to the program?
Yeah, so I actually applied the previous year, so 2022, and we were not accepted. We were, obviously much smaller and had less traction at the time, less mature. I found that, I think it was on some LinkedIn post, right, probably from Accenture or some of the other partners. And I applied to the platform. I remember at the time looking also at the London place. But because for us, the objective was to grow in the US, the New York one, albeit more challenging, it was clear that there'd be more kind of competition to get in. It was more straightforward. So first year we were not selected. Second year we got selected. We came here to New York. With no much hope, honestly, not a lot of hope to get through the finals. But here we are. We worked it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And Karen, kind of similar. What was your story to find the lab and how it was been in the program?
So I always like meeting startups. I enjoy it. Part of my job. But I think, when you are part of a program like this, you are able to see what technology is out there, what new innovations is coming out, and you find out, okay, these are what startups are doing. Maybe this is an area that we should focus on more as a financial institution. And it's always incredible seeing all the companies that come through the program. We've been part of the program for 4 or 5 years now, and we've always had incredible feedback from internal folks.
Can you tell a bit more about how did you sort of select before AI? Why were they your target startup program to?
So I talked to all the heads of the business to understand what their pain points are, and one of the folks that I spoke to are our CISO guys, and they are always interested in new innovations in this area. And when I saw Before AI, it was a science fair. I remember it. So it was a room full of startups, and everyone was trying to demo their product. And I remember seeing them, and I said, "Oh, this is incredible! A company where you can prevent the attacks instead of, I got attacked. What can I do to fix it? It's more, how can I prevent this from happening, saving us money?" I saw that. I'm like, okay, I need to talk to this guy.
Can you talk a little bit more about what is your AI journey today, and how are you guys thinking as a firm about fraud prevention as well? And then curious to kind of see how employee fits into that mission.
Mm-hmm. So fraud is a big problem through all financial institutions, right? With generative AI, everything now, there's more risk. So we need technology solutions out there to help us as a financial institution. We have been looking at a lot of solutions, but I think that, there's no one solution that can fit all. I think Before AI was very innovative, where they can prevent it for up to 2 weeks in advance in attack, which is why I was drawn to them. And, we are in conversations. We had a POC, so conversations are still ongoing. But this is the magic of this program. You have the program. It might not happen during that time, but afterwards, you still continue that relationship.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to click into that a little bit and talk more about those 3 months and how you guys work together over the course of that. And so maybe to start, Luigi, so what was your expectation going in? What were you thinking about when you got told you'd be paired up with financial institutions? What was your frame of thinking on the project?
Yeah, so first of all, I think I did not realize just the brand of FinTech Innovation Lab, how important it is in New York City. It's literally everybody knows about it. In financial institution, it's super selective. And when you have this mark that you have gone through the lab, everybody listens to you, right? Same from VC perspective. Every time I was speaking already with VC at the time for a fundraise, and when I told them, hey, we've got selected, they kind of the behavior changed, right? I came into the lab with not a lot of expectation, to be honest, because we have been into other accelerators, and most of the accelerator organized by corporates tend to be more of a marketing program for the corporate, showing the innovation. You don't get much as a startup, best a couple of LinkedIn posts. Here is a completely different story. So we got mentors, super passionate, with huge experience. We got chaperones and institutions that are really interested to test the technology, to challenge us in the way we can tune the technology. I remember at the time, the second product we launched was just kind of in inception. So one of the things we wanted to get was, okay, let's bounce the idea with people to see, does this value proposition resonate? Is the pricing right? And all these things. And it was great because we could get that to the program. And then totally unexpected, the ability to, even meet some, celebrities, you could say, right? So we went with, the CEO of BlackRock and the CEO of KKR. So, even inspirational discussion. And, this was in a very intimate setting, right? Just a few of us with this whole, having a sharing of experience from their part. So, I don't think there is any other program that has the same value as this one. And it really impacts your, kind of change the trajectory of the growth. If anything, because you realize that, wow, you made it, and now you have, kind of that imposter syndrome kind of gets a little bit lower. So it's been exceptional. And, as an entrepreneur, to see all these people around and the perfect organization from the center team just made it so smooth. It's really, really a pleasure to be part of it.
Great.
And it continues, and we'll talk about it.
Hopefully it'll stay smooth with our tech issues.
Yeah.
With that, Karen, same sort of question. When you first take on a startup company as part of the program, what are you thinking about? What are you looking for? And how do you really leverage your experience within the firm to help them get connected and grow it?
Yeah. So even before we start to meet, I write down who I think are relevant stakeholders, because what he thinks might not be what I think, right? So I create a list beforehand, and I think about, who I know within Deutsche Bank could be a potential stakeholder to introduce him to. And then also, we had an introduction call. I understood more about what he's doing. And when he told me that he's building a new product, that was additional people that I could introduce him to. Something that we did was we had a small innovation day where we had Luigi on a panel with our head of technology and data innovation. Had a panel. Luigi spoke about the trends within cybersecurity and he got to demo his product. And we invited relevant people within the bank to come see the demo. And obviously people who would come are people who would be interested in using the solution. So I think that gave us leads in addition to the list that we had already. And I think that opportunity is great because he got to meet executives who he was.
And you're making it small. This was actually someone on the board.
He was on the board. He was on the management board. He was actually
coming from Germany.
He was based in Germany, and he just happened to be coming in. And I was like, "Oh, Luigi, we need to grab him. Like, let's have a conversation." So we ended up doing that panel, and then after that opened it up to all the employees, anyone who wanted to come could see. So I think through that we got lots of leads through that, and then people were reaching out. So it was easier for us to even have conversations because these are people who were interested already.
And I think that's really the summarize the three for me critical, kind of value that having this Chaperone startup connection is. First, being in front of people that can give you feedback, which you can ask questions. These are experts in the business or management teams and so on. That can be interesting connection later when you get into potential procurement options and so on. The second thing is navigating. Now, these are massive organizations that are part of the innovation lab. So no way from the outside in the time of the lab you would be able to get to the right people. So having someone that knows how to navigate, create the connection, and there, as a friend, as an advocate, is critical. And then the third is, you mentioned the POC. Of course, it's not an objective, and I think this is important to understand for who participate. The objective is not through the lab do a POC or get into a sale in that 3 months, but you build a relationship that naturally brings you into that conversation because they get to know you, you get to know them, you understand, where the pain points are that you can help with. And, I think we met the relevant people during the lab, but we continued months again. The POC was nearly 9 months later after the lab is closed. Now we are more into the conversation about procurement and so on. So, and of course, this is once again large enterprise, global, type companies, so you don't have to expect to, that they put the credit card and they buy the product tomorrow, right?
No, so I think you hit on probably the perfect word, which is building a relationship. And we really stress that mentality at the program, right? It's not about selling into an enterprise. It's about building a relationship between the financial solutions and the startup ecosystem and really fostering that. But when you build a good relationship, it really pays dividends and it's a wonderful thing. And so, Karen, if I can ask you, what really makes it click when you're working with a startup company? What you guys also have an awesome relationship and an example of one that worked out great. So what are you looking for with a startup company to really build that relationship?
I think that the company needs to come prepared. So obviously I can make the introductions, but in the meeting, you need to be able to explain what your product does and why you're different. I can't do that. Mm-hmm. I can only do so much. I can, give them a heads up. Hey, this is this company. This is what they do. But in the meeting, you need to come prepared and have questions ready and really listen to the stakeholder to understand what problems they have and kind of tailor it to see how you could help them.
I think it's important to say you also have the executive sponsor on your end that support it, right? So you have this first introductory call that is more about setting the tone for the collaboration and what are we trying to achieve. And then during the program, you can go back, both the chaperone and the executive sponsor to open those doors. But of course, as an entrepreneur, you have to do the job, right?
Yeah.
But on that, so what about the program really unlocks some of those doors for you? What do you think are some of the aha moments of working with the bank that really helped you mature as a company?
Yeah, first of all, I hadn't realized that in these global companies, for our case, security teams were actually dispatched across the globe. So we ended up working with the CISO in North America, the threat intelligence team in Singapore, the security operations center in Germany, and Karen was actually creating all these openings across the globe. So once again, you come for the North America lab, but in reality you are working with a global entity. So you have to be capable also of navigating these type of challenges, and it prepares you to build a global product and a global leader potentially if you're good at it. So I think that's definitely one thing. The other piece is once again a lot of really goodwill to help, and you can have open conversation because once again you're not trying to sell them something during the program. The program is about setting the trajectory for the future for the company. And so that will help you and some I know of others that we're working with other institutions, even us. By the way, another thing to say, we have multiple chaperones. So Karen is one of the entities we were working with. So we had another 4 or 5, if I remember well. So you got multiple concurrent conversations and organization you work with. And so these are also opportunities to explore, once again, your product, your value proposition, your pitch, the way you present. At the time, we were a European company presenting here in the US to senior leadership is a completely different experience. And so there's a lot of different things. And obviously, this is the case of the more you dare, the more you get. Right? So you really need to be demanding also to the chaperones. And they don't know what they can help you with. So you have to say, hey, I would like to do this. Is it possible? Worst case, they say no. Right? So it doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, and I think when you were launching a new product, right? So you wanted feedback on that. Like initially, we thought we were only talking about the first product, but then when I learned about that, I was like, oh, okay. I think our team in Singapore might be interested in this. So, it's like learning. So it's to find out, is there actually interest from potential customers to actually buy this product?
Absolutely.
And if not, is there a way to pivot? Or if there is interest, okay, let's continue this conversation.
And for us, being in an industry that is extremely crowded, getting attention of these smart people in this organization is super difficult. And so, because they think that you want to sell them something first. And of course, we all want to sell something at the end. But at that early stage, you want to actually have the feedback is more important than the sales. And the fact that you come through the lab, they are now looking at you as someone they want to help because the organization is investing in the lab, so they understand that this is some guy that's been pre-filtered. Let's put it this way. I'm not going to waste my time talking with them. Right? So once again, the brand of the FinTech Lab really helped the relationship.
Luigi, I've heard you say before that you felt like your entrepreneurship journey was that the world just pulled you forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the lab maybe is a bit of an example of that. When you build that relationship, then they really want to work with you and pull you along as well. And Karen, to your point, right, really try to help you figure out how to be successful as an entrepreneur full stop. And then maybe a sales part of that, but it's not still what the
I think it's important to say that once again, you have the chaperones from the organization that select you and mentor you through the program. You also have alumni from the program, other entrepreneurs. You have other mentors from for example, regulatory space. Can be very interesting in certain items, especially now with AI and all the things that are happening around it. Or someone from past entrepreneurs. We've got two of them actually that decided to invest in before AI as well as angels. So again, you make, and these are, by the way, people with fantastic networks, a lot of experience. I've learned that in fact Manhattan is a single office with many companies attached to it. And you look at it from a financial service, everybody know everybody. And so it's actually very important, as kind of opening the door in this ecosystem. This was, maybe something that I did not expect the lab. I mean, we wanted to come to New York. At the time we were choosing, maybe we would go to DC or New York. But New York, because we had customer here, seemed more interesting. And then the lab really made us realize, wow, we can really grow here now. So our customer here, again, it's a financial institution, is the door opener. Once again, to come with a badge now, and Accenture, by the way, as well, also helps. Right? So we are now working in partnership with Accenture as well. So that's another mechanism that within the partnership with Accenture. So not to be discounted, you're not just running the program from a logistic perspective. There is the Accenture team that are interested, and you get exposed to account managers, to consultants, the leadership, and once again, global leadership, because the New York lab definitely has and it's the first, and it has an history. So it's fantastic.
So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk. So there's a lot of great events that we run as part of the program, and you mentioned a couple of them with celebrity CEOs. But I kind of want to hear you guys talk a little bit more about some of your favorite experiences. Maybe you could tell the audience as well what those were. So, Karen, if I can start with you, maybe you talk about that Shark Tank Day in the beginning and what that pitch day looks like, and then also our conclusion of demo day and what that looks like from a part of the assembly.
So Shark Tank Day, it's all the startups get a few minutes to pitch to us, what their product is, what their differentiation is, and then we get to ask questions. So based on these questions, we can fill out a form to rank them, whether we would like to move them on to the next day or not. And I think through seeing all these companies, you see the ones that, would be most relevant for your bank. And I always love doing this because you're always seeing new innovations and you get to ask the startups questions that you would not be able to read on a piece of paper. Obviously, we read the information prior, but there are specific things that you can just ask them in person.
Luigi, any thoughts as well? You've had probably the ski trip.
Yeah. So first, I think it's important for everybody to know. So you don't have. So it's 3 months, but it's not every single week that you have to come into the Accenture office. Now that said, although it's not required, I strongly recommend to plan to spend as much time as possible in New York City because you can profit of the chaperones, get introduced also to other people, either in their organization or others that they know, because once again, they're all interconnected. And, if you're coming from abroad or you're coming from, I don't know, West Coast or far away, and you're not there, then you miss opportunities. So, strong recommendation to plan to be here, even in the weeks in which the program is not in physical presence, because there are the remote webinars and things like that. Then indeed there is the week in DC is more oriented to the meet the regulators. We met people at the Senate, we met people at FINRA, at PTV, OCC, and all the other things. Very interesting. With someone from Accenture always present to help also bridge, because of course, we understand like a little of that on nothing, and of course these other guys in the front, they are the experts, and so you need someone that kind of help guide the conversation. One thing that maybe it's underrated is the class as well, right? The other startups. I mean, we have now in our case we set up a WhatsApp. Again, some people are from New York City, others from outside, so also the other entrepreneurs can help you, and more or less we were all at the same stage. So it's actually a very interesting thing. And then there's the alumni from the other classes that you meet, because through the event there are also evening drinks, and then there is the final demo day in which people come. So I think I don't have anything that I would say is better than the rest or more memorable. I think it's just the blend that gives the actual value. But I do remember people that were a bit surprised of say and kind of they had already planned other things in the weeks in between, and so they were not here. They were missing opportunities. So I think definitely lesson learned that I want to share is to try and stay here as much as you can during those 3 months.
You were great at Luigi. We would come to the Accenture office and you'd be hanging out.
Yeah, I'm squatting the office. I definitely use the premises as much as I can. As a good entrepreneur, I take resources. And again, Accenture is massive and we have so many resources. So it's not like we make any dent in our profits by doing that.
Yeah. And I also like that from a chaperone's perspective, we also got to meet other chaperones who were mentoring Luigi as well. So we got to talk and understand, we're in conversations with this team, and then it's something that I didn't think about. I'm like, oh, maybe that's something I can do as well. So it's like we're learning from each other, from all the mentors and all of the startups. And it's great because we are just learning from each other. And I think having that opportunity to get to enjoy and
I think part of it is how many years is running the program?
15.
Yeah, so 15 years of experience. You feel it all through the program. This is really running like clockwork. Once again, and they're professional, all this stuff, but also the sequence and probably when we close the program after the demo day, there is a very nice lunch that we have together, and the team is still asking for feedback. How we make it better next year, even 15 years later. So. Kudos to everyone involved, and definitely an opportunity. So if you haven't applied yet, you still have 6 days, right? So go for it. I did the last day, so don't wait for the last day.
And the chaperones, a lot of them you see are coming back. That means that they find value in it. They actually want to help the startup, and it's great for me because I see familiar faces. And oh, okay, and then we can chat about whether a specific startup or other topics.
You hit it on the head. Any advice that you would give for applicants today? So with 6 days left, what advice would you give if you were starting the program again? What do you think would have?
I would definitely suggest to tailor it for financial services. Remember, the people that will look at the application are people that work in banks, in insurances, hedge funds. We had brokers of insurances as well, insurance carriers. So tailor the content in terms of what you bring into the industry, what are the challenges that you're solving. Focus on the pain, not as much about your solution, but explain how you see that pain. What is your angle? Because you want it to click the people on the other side to say, oh, this guy understands what our pains are. To your point, Karen, you get it through your stakeholders, and then there is time to explain the solution. There is time, through the demo day. What you want is any kind of selection to get to the next stage, right? So the point is, you're not gonna win in that first, application. You're gonna win at the end of the first week of selection. And by the way, this is also to remember when you come here. If you are selected out of the online application, and you come for a first day where you do this Shark Tank, and then if you're selected, this is a Tuesday if I remember well, and then you come you have to stay till the Friday. I mean, they tell you on the Wednesday if you will come back on the Friday, but you have to plan to stay here the week because obviously the selection closed at the end of the week. And so there is a selection. I think it was in our case we were about 40 or something like that on the first day, and then we were like maybe less than half, and then only 10 were selected at the end. So the selection is, even that week is pretty thrilling week.
Yeah, it's fun for us. And Karen, just to close this out, what advice would you give as a mentor to startup companies? What's really that it factor that makes it click, that collaboration? What are you looking for from opportunities?
I would say that you should be able to, you need to explain why your product is different, because we see a lot of companies in the very same spaces, right? So it's like there's so many cybersecurity companies. Why are you different? So really understand the problem that you're solving and how your company is different. It really is storytelling because we only have, there's a lot of applications and we're only able to read what's on the piece of paper. So you have to really tell your story and figure out what the differentiator is.
So with that, we're going to open it up to questions from the audience, and my team here with Christy is going to read them out to us, and 3 of us can answer anything that we're getting from the audience today.
It's probably like what stage of the company.
So Karen, you want to maybe take that one to start, just from your perspective as an investor in the CV. What are you really looking for? And I can then answer from the second.
So I would say that you have to have a product, right? This program, it had companies in the seed stage, Series A stage, some later, but primarily we're looking for earlier because we want to be able to help you grow and really see if your product, if there is potential there. So probably seed to Series A.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit it with the product. There seems to be a bit of a sweet spot in companies that are mature enough in their journey that they have a product and they're ready to sell into tier 1 type of organizations, especially in financial services, which is a higher bar of certification. They're also early enough in that journey that they still want that feedback. They're still ready to pivot, and they still want to take that feedback and figure out the right fit.
Yeah, I would add it's definitely pre-market fit. You are a stage, at least in our cohort, we were all at the stage in which we did have some early sales, so we knew we were on the right track. But specifically for the financial services, we were still tuning the value proposition and the product, and so the lab really helps in that phase. So you are not in a full scaling phase like of Series A. You are in that phase where you get into Series A. And so from that perspective, it's very different from other programs. They are much earlier, as you say.
But to answer the question, like a technical answer, we don't have a requirement on funding. You don't need to prove a certain amount of funding. I think funding is a good indicator, but not a definer of where you're at in the journey. I think it really depends on you as an organization and what you're hoping out of the program. Other questions, please?
It's the international.
The question was international companies and what support they have. So we don't provide dedicated support for the program. And what's actually really unique about the program is we don't take any equity from any startup companies. We don't make any payments to any companies. And also the financial institutions like Deutsche Bank do not pay to be into the program as well. And so we ask for something that's more valuable, which is your time. But that's really what makes this program different, is that everybody from the startups to financial institutions are contributing their time to be part of the program. I will say, and Luigi, kind of curious if you've had sort of an international story as well. But from our experience, we've had a lot of success with companies that might have traction in other regions, other geographies, and they see the lab as a great way to create a beachhead in the U.S., in New York, with financial institutions. We've had a number of companies that have come out, even in the past couple of years, like Hyperplane and others, that had great traction abroad, came to New York, and built traction with New York organizations.
I think in our cohort, probably was 50-50. Of course, before I was French at the time. I think you just gave the exact kind of qualification, perfect way to validate that whatever you have learned abroad applies to this market or to this, right? And definitely there's no limit from a country, obviously no embargo country, I guess that's normal, but you can come from anywhere in the world.
And I'll add one more. So we didn't mention, so we run the New York lab, part of the New York lab. We also have a lab in London and in Hong Kong that represents Asia Pac as well. And so it's a very global program. We actually have companies that will do the New York program and then do Asia and then do Europe. So we have the ability to jump around as well. So it's a very global.
In fact, we are planning to apply for the London
one
because as we now grow the business here in the US, that's the time to go back in Europe and UK obviously is a big financial marketplace, right?
I heard they have a really tough application process.
We went through the toughest.
Great. What's that? Yeah, let me start for a second. So again, we ask each of the financial institutions about what is their priorities year to year. So it very much follows those innovation cycles and changes. But we ask about 100 different topics, and everything from cloud to metaverse to AI, sustainability, blockchain. We really get some unique answers. What we publish, which is on the application page that you're looking at, this year AI is still dominating the conversation. But we really took a nuanced approach to look at where AI is being applied. So whether it's on process automation or employee augmentation, or what are the actual cyber and fraud prevention, right? But really, where are the applicable use cases that we see this technology being applied in? So to answer the question first, there's no strict requirement on what your offering is and what the technology is. Really going to be dictated by the financial institution. So with that, Karen, actually would love to hear from you. Kind of how do you interpret those year-to-year innovation waves, and what are you kind of looking for to cut through some of that cycle?
I think for us, we have a few themes that we're looking at. We're looking at AI. We're looking at sustainability, cybersecurity, of course. I think it depends on the bank strategy, right? So I have to go and talk to the heads of the different departments to understand what they're looking for, and that's how I come up with what I should focus on. And it's great because we have that conversation, and then the lab program starts. So I have that conversation prior to it, so I understand what the pain points are.
And I'll add to that. I think what's unique about the program is if you get in, you know that you were selected by financial institutions that want to spend 3 months of their time working with you, mentoring you. And I think just that alone is a great credence for what you're building. And really to take advantage of that opportunity to spend the time with you.
I think it actually goes even beyond. It's sort of a bidding contest to who can I get access to different. I want to adjust that, in our cohort, there was someone working on improving contractual, automation for building and insurances around buildings. Somebody else was about yacht engagement in banking. Someone else was about how you bring elderly people back into the workforce, or how you engage them. I mean, there is
wide variety.
I definitely wouldn't, if you feel that your product has a value add for the financial service industry, apply, because there's a good chance that even if it's not in the list, you may actually be that, exception that people get interested in.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll start. And again, the lab itself has a couple key events that we'll need you in person for. So of course, the initial Shark Tank Day, and then the follow-up day if you make it to the top 20. We then have an orientation that kicks off in April that we'll need you 2 days here in New York for to make sure you have the right introductions and have the right context for the program. We then have a couple other events. So we do a DC trip. We meet with 2 CEOs. Last year we did Henry Kravitz. Another year we did Schwartzman. So we've had some really great CEOs we've met with as well. And then at the end of the program, we conclude it with a demo day, and there's a rehearsal before that as well. That's really so. All in all, there's probably about 5 or 6 days that we need you here in person to be part of the program that we need you to commit to. Outside of that, though, and you can testify to this, we're in a post-COVID world. I think we're having a lot of traction to be back in person. We even try to make this event today a little bit in person and hybrid. So we are trying to bring people back into the offices.
Yeah, so there are indeed, you do a good job of actually trying to keep it condensed in some key weeks. So I think I remember it was 4 or 5 weeks that actually you need to be in New York. But as I said earlier, the more you're here, the more you get out of it. Lesson learned, Monday and Friday, it's dead. So there's no need to be in New York City Monday and Friday. So you can, for example, I was flying in on the Monday, arriving Monday evening and flying back on the Thursday night, going back. By the way, I have kept that written. It's still the case. Things it works well. But, I think the opportunity to navigate the network, and you will still have access to the chaperone and to the mentor after the program. But obviously, during the program, you are their focus, right? So you won't lose as much time as you have. In terms of who should come, so in my case, I was coming alone, and this has been kind of the mistake. I should have brought more of my team in this period, my CPO, CTO. So definitely, if you can afford it, because I understand, especially for people traveling, it may be a cost. The more, the merrier. There are certain events with CEO only, not only the CEO to CEO meetings, but otherwise there is no limit you can bring. And then, if anything, there is a lot of other remote activities as well. Of course, for example, we were having sales deep dives, and I would have my entire sales team. There at the time was 5 people joining. So, it depends. But once again, ask more. More as you ask, the more you get, and it depends on how much you can invest.
Yeah, I think the more people you could bring, the better. Just because you might not click with one person, maybe someone else in your team clicks better. But of course, there are constraints on budget, so depending on your budget.
Good question. Again, we don't have a specific framework or requirement, but Karen, again, from a financial institution, what are you looking for, and what would you define as good?
You need to have a product. It can't be it can't be just an idea on a piece of paper, right? You have to have a product, and I would say probably a few customers, at least like 5 customers, I would say. But you're in that stage where you've created your product and you want to see if there's actually traction. So it would be good to have a few customers that you're open to pivoting if there isn't traction.
So the applications close again next Wednesday. We then segment them by the financial institutions for them to vote and down select those. And so you should hear back in early January on whether you've been selected or not. And then we'll invite you to come in for the February event for the actual Shark Tank Day if you make it to the top program. But we touched on that. But as we went through the questions, anything that also picked out there? I'll start for a second.
Yeah.
I think for me, with the application, try to simplify a little bit this year. We ask a whole list of questions on what are the technologies that you're using and leveraging, and what are the functional areas that you're solving. And we ask the same questions to the financial institutions. So Karen and her team answered the exact same question that we're using for the application. So really think critically about that. How does that reflect your company? Because that's what we're going to use to make sure the right people are looking at your application to the best chance having somebody that knows your industry, looking for your product to really review it.
Yeah, I would say, you need to stand up from the crowd. I think what helped it out, we have the product name is Play Crime, that capture people, kind of attention. So try to put something in the application that makes you stand out of the others, because it's like when you receive application for hiring, right, and you have all these CVs, and there are some that stand out more than others. So this is the same. The first stage is kind of how you call it, a beauty contest, right?
Yeah.
Kind of is on paper. So you need to try and be that different enough for capturing the attention.
So you have to be concise, but you have to provide enough details on what the product is and how it's different. Because there's going to be so many applications and people won't have that much time to review each one. So it's like you need to, as you mentioned, like how do you stand out? Yeah.
Last question. Yeah, that's a great question. So again, we really just host the program. We offer the facility and we operate the program. Then you have about 40 financial institutions across payments, capital markets, insurance, and banking, and they're really the heart of the program. They're the ones that really spend the time day to day. They're the ones that vote on the applications. They're the ones that inform what our priorities are year to year. So we might host it, but really it's the financial institutions that are the heart of the program.
And let's not forget Partnership for New York.
Of course, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we co-operate the program with the Partnership Fund for New York City, and they're really an incredible partner. We had Maria here today to tell you about it, but they represent about the 300 largest employers in New York, and they invest in a number of civic initiatives across the city. One of the programs that they run with us at Accenture is this FinTech lab, but they have other labs as well that they run. Similar
Clean tech now.
Yeah, sustainability and public.
And they are hyper connected in everything that is more institutional or other businesses on financial services. For example, we were put in touch with suppliers of Macy's and Tapestries and in retail. So don't if you have a product that is more horizontal, don't get discouraged by all these financial services focus, because there is still interest in the program. But of course, you need to have the financial service focus for the chaperones and mentors to select.
Right. And Maria's a great ally to have. She's such a champion for all the products that come. And the one thing I'll add is we also have a whole community of VC groups. So again, we don't provide equity, we don't take equity, we don't provide funding to the company, but we have a dozen plus dedicated venture capital that will. We have a VC pitch day where you can come and meet VCs and get feedback on your pitch. And we also, at the end of the demo day, open it up where VCs can come, learn about your product, be introduced. So we don't provide the funding, but you definitely will get well connected if that's a priority. With that, thank you all so much for joining today. I hope this was helpful for you all. We're going to record this and we'll post it to our website. So you'll have this if you want to refer back to it. Again, our application's closing next Wednesday. So we'd really love to see those coming in soon. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to myself or the team. We're happy to help. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.